The ransom note found in the Ramsey home has become one of the most unusual and heavily analyzed pieces of evidence in American true crime history. Unlike typical ransom notes, which are usually short and to the point, this one was over 2.5 pages long. Investigators immediately noticed how strange it was that the writer took so much time inside the Ramsey home to draft such a lengthy message without fear of being caught. Even more suspicious was the exact ransom amount of $118,000, to the same figure as John Ramsey's Christmas bonus that year. This detail raised endless speculation about whether the note's author had intimate knowledge of the family's finances or whether it was planned as part of a cover-up. Handwriting analysis became the next focal point, with experts comparing the note to samples from both John and Patsy Ramsey. While John was largely ruled out, Patsy's results were inconclusive, with some analysts suggesting partial similarities while others argued it was not a match at all. This contradiction only fueled more debate. The note itself contained dramatic phrases and odd instructions, reading more like a movie script than a genuine demand for ransom. For many investigators and true crime followers, the key question remains whether the ransom note was ever intended to be real or if it was staged to redirect suspicion. Nearly 3 decades later, this single piece of paper continues to be at the heart of the JonBenét copyright Ramsey mystery, representing both the most critical lead and the most frustrating dead end in the case. Discovery of the body in the basement is considered one of the darkest and most haunting moments in the JonBenét copyright Ramsey mystery. Hours after police had arrived at the home to investigate this strange ransom note, John Ramsey himself went down into the basement, searching through rooms that had not yet been thoroughly checked. There, in a small, dim storage area, he discovered the lifeless body of his 6-year-old daughter. She was lying on the cold concrete floor, wrapped in a white blanket, her wrists bound, with duct tape nearby and a cord fashioned into a garrote still around her neck. The scene was chilling, almost surreal, as if staged for horror rather than the heartbreaking reality of a child's death. The autopsy later confirmed that JonBenét copyright had died from a combination of strangulation and blunt force trauma to the head, suggesting not just one but 2 brutal attacks. What makes this discovery even more unsettling is how poorly the investigation was handled in those first critical hours. Police had already been in the house for some time, but they had failed to secure the crime scene, allowing friends and family to walk freely through rooms that could have contained vital evidence. Once John carried JonBenét copyright's body upstairs, even more potential forensic clues were lost forever. The tragedy in the basement instantly changed the direction of the case, shifting it from a supposed kidnapping into a full-blown homicide, and the missteps by law enforcement that they have haunted the investigation ever since. This moment remains central to the unsolved case, a symbol of innocence destroyed and justice delayed. Family versus intruder theories remain at the heart of the JonBenét copyright Ramsey mystery, and for nearly 3 decades the debate has divided investigators, experts, and the public. On one side lies the intruder theory, which suggests that someone outside the Ramsey family entered the home that Christmas night. Supporters of this view point to a broken basement window, to unexplained footprints in the snow, and most importantly to DNA evidence found on JonBenét copyright's clothing that did not match any family member. These details raise the possibility that a stranger slipped in undetected, committed the crime, and escaped without being seen. Yet standing in sharp contrast is the suspicion directed at the family itself. Investigators and analysts have long noted inconsistencies in the Ramseys' statements, as well as striking similarities between Patsy Ramsey's handwriting and the mysterious ransom note. Their behavior in the hours after the discovery of the note and later, after the body was found, only fueled further doubts about their innocence in the eyes of many. The Boulder police often found themselves torn between 2 paths, pursuing John and Patsy Ramsey as the primary suspects or chasing the shadow of an unknown intruder whose traces were faint but compelling. Meanwhile, the media took the case and magnified it into a cultural storm, with some outlets painting the Ramseys as grieving parents unfairly targeted and others portraying them as deceptive figures hiding a dark truth. This split in perception has ensured that, Even today, the JonBenét copyright case is remembered less as a straightforward investigation and more as a battle of narrative, a mystery where evidence points into irreconcilable directions and where the truth still lies buried in uncertainty. DNA evidence has always been at the center of the JonBenét copyright Ramsey case, and for many people it represents both the hope for answers and the frustration of an investigation that never seems to move forward. When her body was examined, investigators discovered partial DNA on her clothing that did not match any member of the Ramsey family. At first, this was seen as a breakthrough. If the genetic material belonged to an intruder, then perhaps it would be the key to solving the mystery. But the reality was far more complicated. The DNA sample was extremely small, degraded, and possibly contaminated, making it difficult to build a clear profile. Over the years, as technology advanced through the 2000s and 2010s, new testing methods were applied. Each time, the hope was the same: that a match would finally be found in national databases. Yet every test came back inconclusive. The evidence was not strong enough to definitively point to a suspect, nor was it clear enough to eliminate every doubt about how the DNA got there in the first place. Was it left by the killer, or could it have come from someone who handled her clothing during manufacturing or packaging? That uncertainty has haunted the case for decades. Today, Boulder police continue to hold on to the evidence, applying the most advanced methods available. They have not given up, but after nearly 3 decades the DNA mystery remains unsolved. For many, it symbolizes both the promise of science and the enduring tragedy of a case that refuses to be closed. The JonBenét copyright Ramsey case has become one of the most infamous unsolved child murder mysteries in the United States, and its legacy continues to grow even decades later. From the very beginning in December 1996, the story exploded across national headlines. A 6-year-old beauty queen found dead in her own home, a bizarre ransom note, and a family placed under immediate suspicion. These elements combine into a case that fascinated and horrified the public. What makes this tragedy stand out is not only the crime itself but how the media transformed it into a cultural phenomenon. Television networks ran continuous coverage, tabloids printed sensational theories, and talk shows dissected every small detail. The Ramseys became household names, not as grieving parents but as figures surrounded by suspicion. Over the years, dozens of documentaries and special reports have revisited the story, each promising new answers but never reaching closure. Some even drew massive audiences by airing supposed confessions, which later turned out to be false, only adding to the confusion and spectacle. This media circus has made JonBenét copyright's case unique. It isn't just a police investigation, it's a mystery replayed and reimagined in the public eye for almost 3 decades. And yet, despite advances in forensic science and endless speculation, the case remains unsolved. That very fact keeps people hooked, because every unanswered question leaves room for new theories, new debates, and renewed interest. The legacy of JonBenét copyright Ramsey is not only a reminder of a horrific crime but also a reflection of how tragedy, mystery, and media attention can fuse into an enduring story that refuses to fade from America's collective memory.